Oh, I'll take that. Have you ever wondered why some jigs work better than others? Well, today in this video, I'm going to show you some of my secrets to matching the jig colors to your river conditions to help you get more bites and land more fish. So let's first look at twitch and jigs in general in terms of colors. You have every color combination of materials to jig heads under the rainbow, and you can create whatever is in your imagination, or frankly, you can go to a store and find a manufacturer who's already put that together. But why do colors matter? I really think you guys have to look at colors in two different ways. It's not necessarily just one stationary color. I think you look at in fishing, especially twitch and jigs, it's a contrast of colors that helps you get more fish. For example, if you have a classic pattern, a hot bright head colored jig, a darker body, and then a bright tail. What you're doing is you're creating a silhouette in the water that the fish are able to hone in on as the lure is being retrieved by their face. In twitch and jigs, it's important for colors because you have different conditions you have to do. When we start talking about how that conditions of the water impact the choice of color, you have to look at the factors of what you're running into. Are you in a high water situation? And I would consider that where the river is on the rise or already has risen with all the water. You have melting snow as a potential. You have heavy rainfall as a potential, especially in the fall time where we're at right now. We're getting the heavy rainfall. So our rivers are going to start to come up on the rise here if they haven't already. And you're going to get water, as in the video you saw at the beginning here. I'm fishing. Maybe if I had 1.5 foot of visibility, I would be happy. But it was more probably like a foot. So what we're looking at in those situations is not the most ideal. Murky water is 1 foot of visibility, I would say, or less, to the point that you could have chocolate milk water. That's going to be really hard to catch fish in. Still not saying it's unfeasible. You can catch fish. You just have to start changing your thought process of the colors selections. In murky water, your best choices for jig selection are going to be something that creates a silhouette in that water. As much as you want to go dark colors as best as possible. And I almost say the extreme of each condition. Either a full black jig, full dark purple or blues, something super dark, or you could go something super bright. The whites, chartreuse, those can stand out really good in the really dirty water like that. But I don't stray anything really more than white or chartreuse. Your oranges and pinks can work, but you're going to generally get those colors lost in the muddy water. So either super dark or the white or chartreuse is my murky water situation colors. Now let's talk then on, let's say, the fall of this river level. You're getting back into what we call like steelhead green color. You have anywhere from 2 feet of visibility to, let's say, 4 feet of visibility is the ideal. That is the prime fishing conditions. And frankly, in those situations, color may not be as important as you would think, because you're more working on getting their attention with the jig cadence and how it's moving in the water. And you're wanting those fish to hone in on it. So you can start playing with different color combinations of those contrast colors. The pinks and the blues, maybe it's purple and black, purple and blue. Maybe it's a chartreuse with orange, and really see what those fish respond to. And that's the beauty of it, because then you can see how those fish react to make your color changes on the go. And that's ideal. I mean, we've all been a part of fishing where color doesn't even matter. You can be just lights out no matter what you put in front of them, they're biting everything. But having the understanding of color in these different situations is going to help you be a better angler as you go forward. So again, that preferred range, if you can find it, is that 2 to 4 foot of visibility. and that just allows you to play kind of the tackle box shuffle, as I like to say, where you can just see what the fish want. Now, when you have clear, so clear water conditions could be low and clear, it could be normal water condition height, but just gin clear. Now, this could be 5 feet plus of visibility. And this can be where the opposite happens, where these fish get really, really spooky. And bright colors can scare them, but bright colors can also trigger them. It's a very interesting circumstance when you come across it. So where I say in the gin clear water is use more subdued patterns, maybe like a nightmare color combination. The softer tones, maybe not so bright. But if you fish through a gin clear section where you know there's fish sitting in it, sometimes going after it with the brightest color jig you have can be all the difference. For example, I'll tell you a story. So I was fishing an upper tributary system, and we were in a hole where it's gin clear. We could see hundreds of fish sitting in there, but they were not really biting anything. I thought, okay, well, we run through the gamut of gear. Let's try a few more different colors of twitching jigs before we move on. I ended up putting on the brightest chartreuse squid skirt that I had on a twitching jig, and instantly the first cast, fish. You can see it in the picture right here. Not much longer, 2 casts later, I believe, maybe it was within 5, that I hooked another one. For a short window, that super bright hoochie skirt was the ticket and key to these fish wanting to react. They just were getting so pressured with everything else, and that bright color was enough to trigger it. Now, with that triggering color, I think it also had a factor with how the jig was moving and getting the cadence, but the color is the first piece of the puzzle. So when you start really diving into this color, you have to understand your conditions and where you're going to, but also be prepared to change as you're on the go. Now I wanted to go over to the bait table section here and show you guys some of my jig layouts and how I go about selecting my colors. And I'll give you my top 5 color choices that I'm typically running through before I start doing more of the tackle box shuffle. So let's check that out right here. All right, everybody. So we see in front of us a gamut of different colors, and I'll kind of pan around here. You got single color rabbit fur jigs, different styles, contrasted together, hoochie skirts, just little bits of everything. Marabou and rabbit fur, but lots of varying colors. And again, just that's what's the beauty of customizing your own gear or using the stuff that already is pre-made. And I'll tell you, so if I had honestly 5 colors to choose from, I'm going to probably go in the situation of my number 1 is this color combination right here. It's one of our custom jigs, but a chartreuse head with a purple body and a pink tail has probably caught me more coho just in the general conditions. I happen to be using that in the video you saw at the beginning and hooked that fish. But I really have a lot of confidence in that color pattern. It's got a lot of flash, rubber orange legs, so a lot of contrast, a lot of flash, and the chartreuse head really helps them hone in. That's probably my number 1. Number 2 is going to be a combination of blues and purples. Again, following suit on that darker silhouette. This color can work good in the murky water, but also be kind of an all-around color, and that's why I really think it's my number 2. I've seen this do really well in the gin clear, super low, or super spooky fish, but also the prime time 2 to 4 foot visibility. This color is kind of just an all-around player. Really works well, and you can play off of that even with a pink added to that instead of the purple. But my number 2 is definitely going to be that guy there. My number 3 over here is going to be a hothead pattern. Again, contrast black and purple, but that orange head. They really like the orange head, or you can even substitute this for a pink head. But that color combination is extremely good in a lot of conditions, but I'd say this prefers best in that perfect 2 to 4, or your lower water can work really well. So that is a good color for an all around. My number 4 is going to be something bright, right? And I don't mean just one little splash of color. We're going to try and go something complete, either a full chartreuse like this guy, has a little bit of color contrast in the marabou there, but we're going bright, okay? And you can even go brighter than that by saying, like, this is the squid skirt that I was using when I was talking to you guys earlier. So something super bright. That chartreuse is going to be my number 4 choice, because that just gives you a lot of different color ranges, from the really, really muddy water to that perfect, that perfect 2 to 4 foot. That is a great color there. And now my last one is going to be kind of a toss-up for number 5, because I really feel like there's a color combination with pinks that has to be talked about. And we can kind of show you just a few different shades there. So this guy right here is really good as just a general all-around. A pink head, a little bit of a pink tail there, some purple and orange marabou. It really, really flows well. These marabou style jigs work really good in the froggy water, which doesn't have a lot of current, so it really gets a lot of action. Here's a version in a hoochie skirt that works really well with the pink sparkle and the blue and the black. It's just a great color combination, as well as contrast, that I think really helps you out. But you can't, as runner-ups, right, you can't go away from orange. This one's more like a prawn color. Really does well too. And you can kind of, again, just play around with your favorites to figure it out, right? There's no wrong answer here. So I'll recap it again. My number 1, the chartreuse head, purple body, pink tail. My number 2 is going to be the blue and purples. My number 3 is going to be a hot head color, where it's either orange or pink with the purple body and black tail. Number 4, full chartreuse or a combination of that. And my number 5 is going to be your pinks. Right, here's a good contrast one. You got a full pink marabou up here, but pink is definitely a color that Coho love. But there you go. There's 5 options and a ton of different ones out there, again, for you guys to experiment with. And I kind of have a little bit of the tackle box shuffle in front of me here. Now with these jigs, it is worth mentioning the best way that I have found to store these for your river fishing. Comes in 2 different ways. And first here you see is by leader feeder. This is supposed to be typically for your leader rigs, your worm rigs, bead fishing. But I have found this to be an exceptional box for my twitching jigs. And I have found I really like this because I can load up essentially my starting lineup that I want to use and go forward with. So I'll typically have this in my gear pack as lined up with, hey, here's the ones I'm going to start with and cycle through, and then anything else I can keep in another separate box or bag. But that is a leader feeder. I will put this in the link description below. It has really helped me out for keeping everything organized. If you also have more jigs and you have a different way that you want to go about that, here is another option. This is at Cabela's. I know a couple other fly shops carry these, so I'm going to try and zoom out here. This is more of a streamer fly box, right? You can see. So for the boat guys, this is probably more suited for you because you can outline, have all your jigs set up on the outside of this, and then as you go, you can fish them. It's got a ton of room in here, okay? And you can really get yourself all set up how you want. I have some extra ones in here, but that is a way to store as you go. It's got a nice hatch latch, very easy to do. So I'll put a link to that as well. But if you're just a bank fisherman and trying to get a simple way to do it, you can do these leader feeders. Those foam FNG boards work well too. But I just find like this is a super simple way to do it. So once you have your jigs all picked out, you got your colors with you, it's worth bringing back up what I mentioned earlier regarding cadence in the jigging retrieve motion, because this is where you put the color selection for maximize your success with good technique in your presentation is how you will get your fish. Because some will even argue that color doesn't matter that much as presentation does. And there's premise to that. You know, I could agree with that, because if you can present a proper jig to a fish and they're aggressive, they're going to bite pretty much no matter what the color is, because it falling up and down is just a great way to trigger any coho to bite. So having a good way and rhythm of your twitching motion. So in the video you see here, I'm flipping that thing out. I'm playing with the cadence. You know, it's typically let it drop, reel, twitch, reel, twitch. Then I usually do that for a cast. Maybe the second cast, it's a twitch, twitch, twitch. So instead of maybe a second in between, it's half a second. Maybe a double twitch. You guys start playing with the cadence rhythm to be able to figure out what those fish want to tell you. They will give you a response. If you start getting bit or see someone around you getting bit, that is the best way to observe any kind of fishing opportunity, is look around you. If you have other people near you that are catching fish, see what they're doing. Maybe they're using a color you might get something hint from. If the guy's fishing a full pink jig, maybe you can fish something that's got a little bit of contrast with pink. You don't have to necessarily copy exactly what they're doing, but more so maybe it's the rhythm, because I've seen it in times where I'm using the exact same jig as somebody else. I'm doing the exact same cast, but I'm not getting a fish, and it's because either the angle or the rhythm at which they were casting to was the difference there in allowing them to get their bites. So jigging and how you do your cadence setup, it's typically just all on the wrist. You don't have to worry about it. You're only going about 8 to 10 inch twitch motion, and that's really all you need. You can go a little bit crazier if the fish are aggressive, but your water conditions also will dictate what the cadence will need to be too, because you can go in the perfect 2 to 4 foot. Maybe you can play with a little bit bigger, more erratic action to get those fish to see it and spark them. But maybe in the low clear water or just super gin clear, those fish do not want something super flying around, and they just want something kind of nice, natural looking, swimming around, and you don't need to do anything crazy. Maybe in the murky water, it's also something you just got to get in front of their face and have little movement or enough that it's just pops right in front of them and they have a second to react. So cadence is important. Test it out and see what you do on the water to figure out what the fish want. Recapping this up for you guys, I really think that color selection right now is going to be pivotal to helping you guys with the twitch and jig game in these late B-run fish. It's the middle of November. We have a little bit of time left for this B-run to be here, and truly it's an opportune time to get some of the biggest fish of the season, and twitch and jigs really can help you do that.
Fish on! Fish on!